connected with dipoles such as inside, outside, public, private, sentimental, rational, rural, urban, and so on and so forth. In this sense, women many times are excluded from the city space that seems to be designed by and for men. So we decided to address this issue through a project that aimed mainly to create an alternative map. And this is because we believe that a representation of a place is also part of the narrative for this place. And cartography, although it is generally a process that is mistakenly taken as objective, many times, in many cases, have shown us that there is not such thing as an objective map. But it is always one social group that creates the dominant image and in that sense, the dominant perception of a place. So the FemMap project started with a question: who makes the maps? And it tried to give an answer: we are making the maps. So the area we chose to work in was the neighborhood defined by Victoria, Amerikis, and Kypseli Square. This area is one of the most controversial areas of Athens because it is considered to be blighted and sometimes hostile or dangerous for women, but also it is livable, inclusive, and it has a very long history in the way women have been connected in this area. The project had three main aims: the women's empowerment, the creative expression of women in and for public space, and the inclusion of women of different ages and the integration, we can say, of women of different ages and different countries of origin. So in December 2019, we started designing the project and we planned the first steps. The first steps aimed to the creation of a group of participants, and we mainly used our network from the existing network we had in the neighborhood. We did also an open call, and also we used mouth-to-mouth communication. And the participants could be women that live, work on, or frequent in the area, no matter their age or origin. So after the group would be formed, the second step would be a set of outdoors workshops, such as sensory mapping workshops or collective mapping workshops that aimed for women to start expressing themselves on the issues of the neighborhood, so that they could pick a specific point, a specific location in the neighborhood that they wanted to somehow artistically comment on. And after this, after they had picked the location, the next step would be the creative workshops. We had 3 sets of 3 each creative workshops on visual arts, creative writing, and theater. And we planned those workshops in order to help women to make their artistic statement for the location they had already picked. And last, those artistic statements would be collected and uploaded in a digital platform that, and that way we would create our alternative interactive digital map of the neighborhood. Of course, all these were planned in collaboration and based on our broad network of partners. Our partners implemented different parts of the project, and they are all creative groups or collectives that live and work in Athens. So in the early 2020, we started forming our group of participants, and we also released our open call for our first open meetings with this trailer. It's in Greek, but you get the feeling, I guess. So in February 2020, we started our first meetings. This trailer actually called for the first meeting. And at first we had meetings in order to introduce our participants to the issues we were addressing. And we also had academic talks on cartography and the relation between gender and the city. Talks like that were implemented by our partners, such as the Laboratory of the Urban Commons and the research group Gender and Space of the National Technical University. Much better now, yeah. So the second step, as I said before, was the outdoors workshops and the workshops on collective mapping. So our partner Urban Dig project designed this outdoor workshop of sensory mapping, and during this workshop, the participants walked around the neighborhood and made a map of the feelings and senses they had while walking and standing on the neighborhood. And Common Space Cooperative, with Common Space Cooperative, we designed and implemented a collective mapping workshop where the participants shared their feelings about specific spaces and places in the neighborhood, and also other stuff such as the routes they were taking in it, stories or experiences they had about it. And all this sharing was then also part of our final map. Last, we started working on smaller, more inclusive groups on the participants' artistic statements. So we started with a visual arts workshop where participants were introduced to the art of collage and started working on their own creations. Unfortunately, then it was the time that the pandemic started. So we had to stop our physical meetings in the Victoria Square project and started moving more in the digital environment. So our creative writing workshops were implemented only digitally. So giving specific guidelines and tasks, we asked from our digital public to write a short story about a specific place in the neighborhood and add it in our digital map. And the third set of workshops that was on theater, it was implemented outdoors after the first quarantine. And we asked the participants to share a story about a specific place in the neighborhood, which we then dramatized, and through theatrical texts and photography, we created audio pieces for a digital map. So in the end of the project, we created our digital map that you can find in www.femmap.gr. And this alternative map contains the feelings, senses, memories, stories, experiences, and all these things that we had already collected from our mapping workshops, but also the 28 artistic statements that were made by the participants for specific places in the neighborhood, and that they were created through our artistic workshops. So in this map, you can just press in different places of the neighborhood, of the area we worked on, and you can hear the theatrical audios, or see the visual art pieces, or read the stories that were created during the project. And it is also open and interactive, so you can also, users can add specific comments or their own experiences about other places generally in the city of Athens. So through this project's implementation, we figured out a lot about women and their relation to the city. Firstly, many women expressed their being in public space as a fearful experience, and usually they connected this with politics of degradation of public space. But we also observed that through their common female identity and through the sharing of this common feminine experience, women could also connect to each other and create an inclusive attitude towards other women of different ages and countries of origin. Through the whole project, all the participants focused on positive feelings and managed to create a safe space where everyone felt comfortable to share really personal stories and experiences. And this safe space was also functioning as a motive for creativity. Although many participants in the start were somehow a bit shy about their artistic skills, yes, whatever. The atmosphere of encouragement that was collectively encouraged all the participants to feel better about their artistic creations in the last days of the project. So women were empowered to express their feelings about public space, and through the building of a diverse community based on their feminine identity, they managed to get through and feel better about their own neighborhood. Yeah. And of course, all this would not be possible without our team that was formed by young creative women that live and work in Athens. So I want to close this presentation with this picture of our team and thank Mariana, Panayota, Despina, and Emi for believing in this project and collaborating with me for its implementation. So thank you.
Thank you, Danai. A very impressive community engagement project with a very significant outcome, we can say. So let's move to our next presentation. I think one of the presenters is going to connect with us via the Zoom platform, but we have Tatiana and Elena here. So just we need some minutes just to upload the next presentation.
And with Franziska Pierwoss, who is in Berlin at the moment. So we will test a hybrid presentation, let's say. So Franziska will take the floor and begin, and we will try to do with you some Q&A in the end, maybe, or in the end of the whole session. Let's see. We will improvise, I guess.
Hi, everybody. This is Franziska. Now the two obvious questions. Number one, can you hear me? And number two, are you able to see the presentation on screen?
Just a sec, Franziska. We can hear you, but not very, very well. No.
So the imagery is visible?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Then I will start. So my name is Franziska Pierwoss. Next to Elena and Tatiana, I'm presenting from the mountains of Fyli, and I will give it a go. Hope that works. So what you are seeing here on the screen is a short video of the landfill of Fyli, close to Athens. So this is an introduction to the series we're presenting today. From the Mountains of Fyli is part of an art project that visited 3 different cities. And now I hope I can jump easily to the next slide. If you are not able to see what I'm projecting, please complain via the chat or via voice. So in Athens, the project was invited by Onassis Stegi to take place. And the 2 authors behind these projects on the subject of waste management are Sandra Teitge and myself. Sandra, my colleague, also working in the field of arts. I'm an artist myself. And we always have local partners in order to collaborate on these subjects. And this is Tatiana and Elena, who you're seeing or you will hear in a second. So these projects started in Mexico City with the first part of the series called Un Cuento de Basura. In each one of those cities, we do dive very deep into the subject of local waste management. What we're focusing on is the waste that everybody's producing every day, household waste, or so-called municipal solid waste. In all different cities, what we try to do is we try to meet as many experts who work in the field and bring those experts together over dinner with local citizens, so citizens of the respective city. And so those are some images from Mexico City. Next, we visited Beirut, Lebanon, with the edition that is called A Tale of Trash Mountains, Garbage Rivers and Migratory Birds. And what you see here is the peak of the waste crisis in Beirut when the garbage was piling up so high that people filled the local riverbed with the garbage, as is visible here on the image. And so in all cases, what we do for those projects is that we collaborate with established art institutions. So in the case of Mexico City, it was the museum of the UNAM University. In the case of Beirut, in the background, you see very fancy looking the Sursock Museum. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to explore the art space of a regular public museum as a space of discussion. And now, after the two first editions, we were invited to come to Athens and developed over the course of a whole year the project that is titled From the Mountains of Fyli. And the presentation took place in 2019. The research started in 2018, continued into 2019. And the research process that is fairly long with a duration of a year is dedicated to allocating and meeting all the people who we refer to as experts in the field of waste management. But since we're not coming from a strictly academic background or technical background, we consider very many different people experts. So an expert on waste management is the person who is an illegal work, or let's say works in the informal waste picking, for example, who goes from one garbage can to the next and picks what could still be sold, up to the people who sit in the communal administration, all the way up to the Ministry of Environment, who are responsible for updating laws or also enforcing those. And I will try to give you another video snippet here. I need to switch between the two presentations. And I think we will let this go because there's a bit of technical difficulty to make this video happen. But basically what you would be seeing here is the surveillance camera of a so-called KTAI, like a waste sorting station, also in the vicinity of Athens. What we did is that we focused on Athens and the Attica region because this is also the biggest waste producing community in Greece, and we followed the question of where does the waste go from both bins, the green bin as well as the blue bin that most of you will be familiar with. We visited, during the 1 year of research, visited different sorting stations, so recycling facilities. We visited the landfill of Fyli, were engaged with engineers who are working there, also visited the people who are responsible of the ongoing extension of the landfill of Fyli, which is basically has very much reached its capacity, but is always being enlarged. But we went all the way up to Volos, which is maybe not at first sight related to Athens, but it is actually related to the waste of Athens because it is being burned in the cement factory by Lafarge up there. And so we conducted about, here it says 60 interviews, so many interviews with very many different people working in the field, activists as well as people in unions, people who drive waste trucks. We went on the tours with waste trucks in Athens, trying to understand the rhythm, where does what waste is being delivered to. Here on these images, you see another sorting station, the Lafarge cement factory, and another recycling center on the bottom. And these can be in private or in public hands. And those are some images from our field work doing the tours.
Franziska, sorry for interrupting. Franziska, we are stuck in the presentation in Lefsina's Gdai. Can you move on the slides, please?
Hang on.
So we haven't seen the rest of them. Okay, so
I will try. What are you saying?
We are good. Now we are good, yeah.
Okay. So now we're seeing the waste truck from the back, a common image. This was in the very city center of Athens. And so from all these experts that we allocate, who can be also possibly private people who are very engaged with the topic of waste management, such as a teacher who's trying to do zero waste projects with her students, all the way to different representatives of the ministry. We invite most of the people we meet for interviews to attend the dinner, and during the dinner they will meet another 50 people who are citizens of Athens who are interested in the topic. So similar to a theater play, you will try to book a ticket for the dinner, and everybody together will participate in the dinner. What happens during the dinner is that you do not know where you're seated. So you might, everybody, our experts, as well as the local citizens, do not know who they will meet during the night. And so there is different discussions going on at each table, as well as a public discussion that is moderated by a TV moderator throughout the whole evening, where everybody is being addressed, as you can tell here, by a microphone. We have to add that before we try to open the floor for questions, that we did this project just right before the communal elections and the European elections in 2019. So the atmosphere was fairly charged, and we had in particular tried to contact all different candidates for the mayor position of Athens in preparation to the project. So what you will find is you will find voices from a private perspective, activist perspective, political perspective, but also, and that's very important, from the private sector, people who usually do not need to justify their actions in the public platform were invited and came together over this evening, where they had a 5-course meal that very much resembles a gala dinner that was then moderated by the TV moderator. Now, are you seeing the same images I'm seeing? Because I'm afraid this might have got stuck again.
In the garbage trucks.
Ah, you're in the garbage trucks. Okay. Adobe Acrobat is manipulating us. So I will move it back and forth because you didn't see any images of the dinner.
Yes.
So are you seeing the 96 dinner attendees?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I will not be able to show it in full screen. I will just continue. And now we're seeing the different tables where the different characters met over dinner. And now we see the public discussion where different speakers are addressing everybody in the room. Are we on the same page?
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay. And now what is very important is that we have people with very different views who will be finding themselves at different tables mixed together. And now I will pass the word to Tatiana and Elena, and introduce you to the few questions that we prepped or that arose during our discussion in reference to this conference.
Okay. Since we are in this session of
okay, it's okay now. Okay, since we are in this bottom-up session today, we tried to ask ourselves how to bottom up a top-down event or a top-down institution like Onassis Foundation. So I don't know, for us it's still an open question and we can discuss it all together in the end maybe. But I think that the very core of this performance was all about it. It was bottom up in a strange way maybe, because we gave some main instructions and to the audience, to the participants, to the experts. But on the other hand, we never knew what will happen during the dinner, during the performance. Very different individuals and collectivities came together, sit together and have dinner without knowing each other. So they brought together with them their backgrounds and their very different opinions, in which many cases were very opposing. So the debate was really lively and really interesting. So another question, maybe can we move on to the dinner and question and the food question maybe of these?
Maybe I would also add to this point that, of course, in comparison to a classic bottom-up process, which is formed in a community by a common goal, I would argue that we used similar techniques. But of course, since this is an art project that uses, or sometimes maybe also uses techniques of theater, there's a dramaturgy that we use in order to create a certain platform. Once the platform is created, it's very open what will happen, or it's left open what will happen, but like such as using an art space in order to see if that can be actually used for a serious public debate. The next question, what is the role of food in a public dialogue? Maybe Tatiana, you feel like going into the question if food can be a catalyst for a temporary, however crucial encounter.
Okay, there were 5 dinner courses especially designed for this dinner with 2 acclaimed chefs, Gogo Delogianni and Kosyfologou. We have designed all together and brainstormed all together the courses. They were meaning something. I mean, they were conceptual about the waste management in Athens and in Greece. So we were expecting only the course and only the course could open the discussion between the attendees. And on the other hand, I'm thinking that the food and the food that you are sharing, you know, and the wine in a table with people that maybe you have the same opinion with them or not, it was a very strange thing to do. I mean, a lot of people that were totally different from different backgrounds and different I don't know, cities and political views. They were together eating in a very nice dinner. And I mean, it was a very strange experience for all of them. And the discussion was extreme at some point. And I think that.
But it was an icebreaker. The food was an icebreaker as well, don't you think?
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to say anything to a stranger till you're in the same table sharing food and use it as a means of, you know, a collectivity element at this very temporary situation, which could be very intense at the same time.
Yeah, but you know, it's not common to be on the same table with someone, with strangers, or with someone that you are strongly disagree
Of course,
or
yes.
you are detesting, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it was very strange that you should have a dinner with them.
Maybe we should move on in the next and maybe final.
Exactly.
question.
This would be our final remark, even though we'd be very, very happy to answer questions. I think obviously foremost, there was a motivation to also bring a subject as waste management, and waste we produce every day, first of all, to the public in the first place. And one tool we used is one that comes from a very public medium, which is from TV. So in each dinner, there's a TV moderator, a female TV moderator, leading the discussion, and often also TV moderators who you would not necessarily relate to a political subject, and maybe in a way also sometimes tricking the audience a little bit, because here, yeah, maybe Tatiana and Elena, you would like to comment on the moderator we had in Greece, Faye.
The name of the Greek moderator yet. Okay, Faye Skorda was the selection of the Greek moderator here. So all the time there was this challenge of a televised public persona fulfilling all the gender stereotypes. That okay, we have here tonight the maybe dumb blonde to lead the conversation, but it was surprisingly the opposite, I should say. And I think that the very decision of getting the Franziska's and Sandra's voice, but in the local language through this female persona was really challenging and also surprising, or altering this common view of the morning zone. And
yes, and I would like to add that because everybody knew that Faye Skorda is not familiar with waste management. I mean, nobody expected that, of course. She's doing something else as a professional. I think that, let's say, the minister was extremely surprised when he got a question very to the point and very specific from Faye.
yes.
I mean, it was totally unexpected for him or for everyone, not only the minister, of course, but for everyone expert to accept questions very specific, very scientific, very to the point,
And very hard to
answer.
of course.
Yeah.
And the success, and one of the successes of the project, in my opinion, would be that the very important issue of waste management to go to the public and to the mass public, and not remain an elite or very scientific issue that only the experts should deal with.
And to close off, I will present our pride, the big blue bin cake we presented at the very end. And we thank you very much for your attention, and are very happy to answer all different questions or engage in a discussion about this presentation, as well as the many other colleagues of this round. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. A very interesting presentation. So now let's move to our next one. Georgia Pozoukidou, I think. Yes? Yeah. Theodora. Hello, Theodora.
Ναι, εγώ είμαι, ναι. I'm going to share my screen. And then I'll introduce you to the concept. Can you see the presentation? Yes, I think you can. So, mine seems to be the odd one in this group because it's completely theoretical.
Theodora, if you, excuse me, if you can, please A little louder and maybe closer to your microphone because we cannot hear you very well.
No. Maybe now? I put my microphone to the maximum volume.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. And now, what I was saying was that the previous two presentations were very, very interesting. And I think that mine is the odd one in this panel because it's a completely theoretical issue. It's a placemaking break, let's call it like that. It's about an effort we are doing with Ms. Pozoukidou on discovering the essence of placemaking. And let's see. In the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about the use of a linguistic analysis approach in discovering the essence of placemaking, as I said. The research is supported by the Hellenic Foundation for Research and Innovation under a PhD fellowship grant. And let's get straight into it. Okay. Well, according to Marcusen, people have been placemaking for millennia. But what is placemaking exactly? Starting to wonder, the quest reminded me of an old Indian fable which goes by this. 6 blind men came across an elephant for the first time in their lives and tried to conceptualize it by touching it. However, all blind men came to feel a different part of the elephant, leading to a disagreement on what an elephant is. So, placemaking is a multidisciplinary and multidimensional concept, which, if I may say so, makes things even more complex. The unambiguous shift from considering space as res nullius to res communis manifested in various bottom-up and bottom-bottom approaches, like namely everyday urbanism, utopia, tactical urbanism, peer-to-peer urbanism, all of these embedding the notion of placemaking. So, due to the multi-faced nature of cities, places and their making, every discipline tends to form its own definition of placemaking, giving it specific context. Hence, there is a need for identifying the essence and qualities of placemaking in the context of spatial planning disciplines. Indicative of the breadth of placemaking is that almost every document about it starts with a definition of the term. Here I mention some examples of placemaking definitions we found around our corpus, just to get an idea what I'm talking about. And quickly I'm moving on to the methodology. So, in order to facilitate the emergence of an integrated definition of the process of placemaking in the context of spatial planning, a computer-aided linguistic analysis was conducted. The first step towards forming a placemaking theory is done here by utilizing a method from the field of integrative literature review, and the computer-assisted text analysis is performed. Textual analysis is a method of data analysis utilized in ILR that examines either the content and meaning of texts or their structure and discourse. The term computer-assisted text analysis refers to techniques ranging from quantitative social sciences and content analysis to data mining and text classification. So a web-based reading and text analysis tool was used to perform term extraction in a collection of texts, our corpus. The software used is Voyant Tools, which is an open source project, a web-based text reading and analysis environment, very helpful in this kind of research. At this point, I would like to mention the criteria that shape the final corpus.
To narrow down the selection of papers for inclusion in the corpus, we searched in databases, digital libraries, and search engines, and we took in documents that were written in English that had a title containing the term or the terms placemaking as an entire word, place gap making as two separate words, or placemaking with a hyphen. The documents that they were free online publication, open access resources, or university access resources, and they were all in a text format that allowed a level of intervention. A total of 139 documents formed the final corpus, including journal articles, conference papers, booklets, website material, etc. The text covers most of the academic disciplines, including arts, humanities, social sciences, and applied sciences, ranging from 1985 to 2020, and they were organized in 5-year blocks. Focusing a bit more on the document type, it is evident that the largest number of documents in the corpus are journal articles. Very interesting is also here the chronological distribution of publishing dates, this graph here. It is evident that the number of sources about placemaking increase over the time period examined, which is from 1980 to today. Starting with 1 and 2 documents in the first blocks, the recent growth is daunting, suggesting and following the growing recognition and use of the concept of placemaking in the 21st century. Another compelling observation is about the way the term is written. Generally, there is no explanation about the chosen way to mention it, and there is use of at least one of the 3 spellings in each document, with most of them using it as a single word, and only 10 of them using it as 2 separate words. This phenomenon is still not challenged nor construed in the bibliography on placemaking, leading to the conclusion that it is of no importance. However, in our research and using the tool to further delve into the essence of placemaking, a classification of the term's written version was attempted after tracking down the various adjectival characterizations of the term placemaking in the corpus. Also here, I have a map with the geographical distribution of case studies and cities mentioned throughout the corpus. This is an experimental tool for exploring geospatial aspects of texts. It is the next step in our research now, this aspect, and we find it very interesting, although it is under development from Voyant tools.
So, using the tools, the critical aspects of placemaking
arose. It is evident from the literature that placemaking has some ubiquitous qualities. The practice of placemaking is described as a mostly experimental, non-planned approach with minimum intervention and maximum flexibility. Following the definition of planning, placemaking works with links between knowledge and action. And we can say that placemaking is a process, or is the process of shaping places where people live and work and the settlements we live in, and it refers to a number of practices all about the local level. The word practice is used deliberately here, since its main aim is to get things done, to learn by doing, and to establish a transformative learning and collective understanding of place versus space. To get an idea about the tools used, I have here 2 of them. The first one is a word cloud, which positions the words in such a way that the terms that occur the most frequently are positioned centrally and are sized the largest. Here we can see place, urban, city, placemaking, and community. The bottom one shows the relative frequency of chosen terms in 5-year blocks, allowing us to make comparative observations. Some conclusions. The tool is a free, user-friendly, and extensively documented web-based environment, which has a collection of tools built in and existing techniques for textual analysis. Kata allowed us to analyze numerous texts and provided the means and tools to identify and visualize the structure of co-occurrence of words and concepts. And even though it is a tool used in social sciences, its use led to important findings. The discussion on placemaking in spatial planning casually addresses ongoing debates about knowledge, power, decision-making, community, and the relation between knowledge and action. At the same time, placemaking pertains to the moral foundation of planning, its legitimacy, contributing to the discussion about spatial justice. The research leads to the demarcation of the critical elements of placemaking, the detection of placemaking's different attributes, an understanding of the role key thinkers have in placemaking's literature, and the way the terms has been used and changed chronically. Also, it helped us to make an association of the term to the different disciplines and scientific fields. This research is aiming to contribute to the establishment of a definition of placemaking, which is an ambitious saying, but we are planning to taking into account the growing need of citizens to control public space and the newly formed top-down dynamics as an aspect of public participation in the mainstream planning process. It is very interesting that such a theoretical concept was put in a panel like this, because I think that at the core of this debate, my internal debate actually, is between practitioners and people who theorize. And the end point of all this is that practitioners theorize too and need to take notes for all the others to understand what exactly they are doing. That's all. Thank you very much. It's just a fraction of our research. If we had the ability to talk in person, it would be much more interesting, I think. Still, I hope you have some questions, and we will talk about it more later. Thank you.
Hi to everyone. I think it was my turn because your mic maybe was closed, so I couldn't hear the presentation. I cannot see you. Okay, now. Anyway, it was my turn, so thank you. My name is Fabiano Micocci. I'm an assistant professor from the University of Thessaly. I was planning to be there in person, but I was stuck at home by a seasonal flu, luckily not COVID. Anyway, so it was a little bit difficult days the previous day. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my screen? I guess yes. I hope, because I cannot see the chat. Anyway. My presentation is related to the use of Collage as a participatory tool. And basically this presentation is based on much of the material included in a book that's been recently published on September with the title Athens by Collage, the representation of the metropolis between realism, intervention, and autonomy. The book was published by an Italian publisher called Anteferma. And the book basically is a kind of historical chronology of the last 20 years with the development of the urban studies among architects and the use of collage to tackle some new urban issues that were emerging from this condition. In this presentation, I'm going to make a step forward that has not been really related with the book so much, analyzing better how collage can be used for the participation of citizens, artists, and architects together in a way to portray the city as a kind of pluralistic image of the city. It means a city made of many different people that are able to visualize the city differently, and how the collage can be used both to tackle some issues, but also to contest some mainstream practice or narrations. At the beginning, just to give a very brief theoretical background to my presentation, I would like to focus on a couple of definitions, one by Edgar. It's a curator, educator that in the 2017 curated in England, in London, an exhibition called The End of Collage. In the exhibition is focused on the word ends with different meanings. The first is that collage use fragments of images that has no ends, basically, because they are cut and paste over other images. That collage is also usually referring to the reality, to the actual reality that was happening at the time. It means that it is always related to the reality that may appear in the form of art of the collage. The first part basically link the two ideas of the fragment and of the historical paradigm into an ecological project. It means that with collage, it is possible to advance revolutionary ideas. From this point of view, Edgar really focused on the anarchic and radical connotation of collage that has worked in different times and places as a way to criticize social and political convention. In the catalog was also included a text by the Scottish writer Ali Smith. Smith published, or is going to finish to publish a quadrilogy of 4 books about this. They are novels based on seasons. Athens was the first book, and inside the book she tackles and she tried to define what is collage. Indeed, the book tells the story of a young lady, a PhD student that was researching the history of Pauline Botti, that was a collage artist in England during the 60s. And she defined a collage as mainly an insurgent activity that throws away all the rules simply by not respecting convention, size, space, time, foreground, and background. From this point of view, I'm interested on presenting collage as an insurgent activity in a way to context the status quo of how the city is represented. A case study that's quite interesting to understand the impact of collage that may have on the community is the case of this very rough and simple collage made by some citizens in occasion for the building by Renzo Piano of the Intesa Tower. The Intesa Tower was a new development by the bank Intesa. Was a skyscraper just close to the main symbol of the city. And basically they were contesting and representing to the citizens the impact of the skyscraper on the city skyline. This collage developed a sort of debate among citizens, also triggering some citizen participation and also very strong opposition against the project. Renzo Piano, in a way to keep the commission, and this is in the sketch at the bottom, tried to give a different kind of dimension and to resize the building, not to have this such an impact. The result is the construction of the tower, but in any case, the dimension of the building has been reduced. So the question here is how citizens can in some way direct or contest some processes, urban processes in the city where they are usually cut out. The case of Greece of Athens is particularly interesting. Collage art has not been used for many years dealing with urban environments that were mainly related to myth, tradition, island landscape in the work of many architects and artists. It is possible that the first collage that had this impact in a way to contest the status quo is this work by the Greek artist Chrysa Romanos. Then after spending some years in Paris, she came back in Greece during the 60s, and she started a work producing some works of collage, try to contesting the status quo of the historical city. It's the map, the cut map just right at the center that represent the historical city of Athens. In my research, I was mainly interested in what happened basically during the last 20 years, let's say around since 1995, where there were a kind of development of urban studies. During this period, mainly during a period of great economic development and important transformation at the metropolitan scale of the city of Athens, in occasion of the 2004 Olympic Games, there were many architects, artists, but also representatives from other fields that were gathering together in some sort of happening, conference, workshops. And this is witnessed also by many publications that happened at the time during the 2000-2007 that mainly are collective volumes. This sort of new understanding of the city, of the metropolitan dimension of the city, is also tackled with some collages. And the collage basically during this period has been used to represent this different dimension of the city, this large urban transformation, but mainly how users of the city or citizens were dealing with the city differently. Of course, there is also a kind of irony in every kind of collage, but also a kind of desire for something different or alarming for some transformation that were going to transform the city into a large metropolitan city with enormous impact as a tourist destination, like for example, in these images by the Greek artist Dimitris Tsoublevas. Notwithstanding, I'm not going to present the collages. Collages is always left to individual interpretation, but it's nice to chronicle a little bit the production of the city at the time, together with the production of collage and how collage has been used to trying to tackle transformation that couldn't be really understood at the time. Most of the collages are referring to the metropolitan dimension of the city, to a city that had no more borders, a city that had no more definition, a city based on the use of infrastructure, and to the delocalization of the principal activities, both related to leisure and to commerce. But also raising some question of the need for public spaces, the need for green spaces, and what kind of urban projects should be implemented to really tackle important urban issues. During the period of the economic crisis, let's say roughly between the 2008 and 2015, collage has been used in a quite different way. This is very important and interesting because there is a kind of coincidence between the spread of collage in the hands of architects and with the halt of the construction activity. The halt of the construction activity basically brought some questions. How can we intervene in the city when there is no money circulating, when there are no more private commission to produce private investments and private wealth? And What is interesting is that collage during this period has been used for more participatory projects or actions. For example, with Athens as an island campaign by Point Supreme, that collage was also accompanied with a set of other gadgets, postcards, in a way to reframe the image of Athens during the crisis as something else and not just a city in decay, but also many kind of competitions like Athens.
Excuse me, I'm interrupting you again, but we didn't hear you, so maybe you have to take it from this slide again. There was a small interruption in your connection.
Okay, now?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Now we can hear you. Yes, yes.
Okay.
But we lost something, so if you can repeat, I mean, your last
so
phrases.
From this one?
Yes.
Okay, so during the economic crisis, there was a change in the use of collage. Collage was mostly linked to some actions like participatory action, workshop, or campaigns. In this example, is by Point Supreme, collage was accompanied by a set of gadgets in a way to advertise the city during the crisis, a city in decay, with a completely different approach, like a place of destination. What is important in collage is the capacity is the ability of getting something from the real and to transform it to give different meaning. Okay. At the time, there were also many kind of competition focused on Athens, but it's possible that the most interesting is the competition Athens for 4. And here too, again, mainly with the work of Point Supreme and draft works, collage has been used to promote a kind of new urban environment when with some objects that could transform streets among blocks. But there were also some interesting from foreign institutions. For example, the Liodaki Institute during 2011 made a course focused on Athens with the title Athens, Labor, City and Architecture, where students from all over the world were involved on reframing and transforming the image of the city, the urban blocks, the idea of the polykatekia and the usual fragmentation of the urban block through installing some architectural archetypes. What is interesting in our case is that the outcome of the workshop was presenting basically very effective and simple workshops, collage images. At the time, there were also some interesting workshop activities. For example, one organized by the urban think tank of Alfredo Brillenburg in the 2014 and from a book published in 2017. These workshops were basically participatory workshop in situ. Basically, they were looking for available spaces inside the urban fabric of the city and to try to design some action, basically use material that were already there. In the book, I presented some collage images. This collage images basically introduce each chapter and explain in some way the possible action that can take place in the city. There are, I think, I don't know if I'm not mistaken, there are 10 of this kind of images, and with collage, basically, the author Hans Lieber Gutberg was going to present possible way of visualizing the city after this sort of citizen participation. Another workshop that using a model but not an image was conducted by ARIA, it's a Greek architectural office, in 2004 in the neighborhood of Egalio 365 that was a social housing from the 60s. And the model was used as a kind of totem just right at the center of a courtyard. And this is a miniature of the courtyard. Citizens were dwellers of around the buildings around were involved into manipulating this model. What is interesting here that the model was made like a collage. Let's say there is a set of different kind of elements where citizens could take and move to resignify and to redesign basically through their action the environment of this courtyard. Things change a little bit, let's say, during after the crisis, or when the economic recovery started again. With the starting of
Fabiano, I'm sorry again, this is the last interruption. If you can move to your conclusions.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, because okay, you know, time is kind of pressing always. Thank you.
So I'm going a little bit quicker to just reach conclusions and presenting some very college and other kind of activities. This is a college for the Victoria Square project coordinated by Anastasia Zoe Sulioti, tackling issues of foreigner immigrants and redesigning a city through college and through memories. But also college is being used to contest basically the heritage and the image of the city that has been used basically for the international tourist network. Just I would like to finish by what happened in the last couple of years, that through networks, through social media like Facebook and Instagram, many artists, architects, but also citizens started to produce collage in a way to contest municipal activities, but also at a larger scale in Greece. This is just to focus on the impact of collage that may have on citizens through the use of social networks. So what is the impact of collage in this case? It's collage, there is a couple of issues. At the one hand, the possibility of everyone to make very simple images and to promote them on network, and on the other side, to use collage to develop a kind of different knowledge and different image of what is happening at the moment in the city. So thank you. I'm going to finish here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Fabiano. And let's move to our final presentation for today. Rene Carraz and Veronika Antoniou. I think if you can hear us.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Can you hear us?
Hello. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
You can share your screen and begin.
Okay, 1 second. Okay.
No.
Can you okay, go.
Can you see our screen and hear us?
Yes.
Because we can. Yes. Okay, good. Because we can no longer see you. And so let our presentation begin. I'm Veronika Antoniou.
I'm Rene Carraz.
I'm architect and urban planner working for Urban Gorillas.
I'm an economist working for Urban Gorilla and at the university as well.
So today we will present to you one of our projects, the Vertical Gardens project, which was completed in 2020, last year, and was part of a European Creative Europe project called A Place, which is a network of academics, practitioners, cultural operators that examine the relationships between place and people. So you can check more about the project on our website. Very quickly, something about Urban Gorillas. We are a multidisciplinary team of urban enthusiasts. We came together in 2013 with the vision to improve living in the cities. And we carry activities like artistic interventions in public spaces, activism, research in new technologies and urban sustainability, and also citizen engagement tools. So basically, Urban Gorillas, they are dedicated to make living in the city fairer, healthier, and greener. And we would like to involve people in the making of their urban public spaces and generally in undertaking public activities. And most importantly, we want to improve the notion of public in urban areas. And this is both in literal and physical terms, which bring us to a very important focus of our work, which is public spaces. And we would like to give people pleasure when using public spaces, which connects back to our theme for today, which is play. So the use of play is a very important tool to do this connection and to give pleasure to people when using their public spaces. So for Urban Gorillas, play is central to our research and work and is used as a tool to physically change public spaces through playful designs. It's also a tool to engage communities that they can come more easy and making our activities more accessible to them. And it's also a tool to inspire change and also makes art and culture open and accessible to a wide audience that will otherwise not participate to such activities. Within our project, the A Place network, we are defining some words that are important in placemaking, that are important to people working with cities and communities. And play is one of these words in our dictionary. So we have defined play as associated with the element of surprise, joy, and adventure, and as a tool that is absolutely essential to the transformation of places, because it brings people effortlessly to come together. So this makes the engagement in public more inviting, more appealing, and more open. So in the project on the right, for example, we have inserted an inflatable structure in a traditional and densely built neighborhood in Nicosia. We have used also play to in a performative dinner we have done in the city center and invited passersby to join us and take part in this performance. We have also literally created a playground by putting 10 tons of sand with shovels inside this inflatable structure to create a playground for children. While on the outside, we were creating a canvas for artists to also play on it with graffiti. And we have also used play to engage with our friends across the divide, across the dividing line of the border of Nicosia. So what you see on this image is on the top of the wall is the northern part of Nicosia, On the southern part is on the bottom part is the southern part of Nicosia, and we were engaged in this creative play of dancing and movement with the rope. Okay, this is where this took place. Let's move on. And also plays used also as a tool to engage people to participate in a research that they will otherwise not to take part in a questionnaire that will otherwise be a very boring task for them to do. And in this case, they actually were very willing to participate.
So we do research as well, and not only design, but because we don't have a lot of time, I will be very short. I will say that we are very much interested into designing, into playful design, but we think that we should achieve much more than aesthetic outcome, even though it's important. And our goal is to be a catalyst for improved spatial usage and increase sociability. If you want to know more, you can look at us at the paper, which has been published in the Journal of Urban Design, and I will put it in the chat. Academics like myself, we like to read the literature. So I could say that play is super important to rediscover space, play as a design tool, as a catalyst for creative engagement. A lot of papers are showing as well that public art could be performative for cultural identity. And we think that following Donoff and Bridgman 2017, that the city of the future is a city where we play. All these link back to the seminal paper of Izunga in 1938, where he defined the homo ludens, basically saying that play is super important for us, and it will remove us from our daily life into a parallel reality. And let's go back to the case.
So play is for us also the answer to a question we keep asking ourselves at Urban Gorillas, which is how to organize diverse communities to take part in a collective activity. So with our case study, the vertical gardens, what we try to conceive is to move beyond a playful design of a spatial installation, and also design a playful framework for participation of the citizens into the activity. So this is our case study. It's a very lifeless square, is the center of our neighborhood in Kaimakli, in front of the church. And besides this platform that is sometimes used for people to sit, there is really nothing much to do or to occupy yourself with around this neighborhood. Our idea, together with my colleague Teresa Turvas, we have designed this structure. And the idea was for it to act like a platform that residents could plug in their pots of plants. So each of the residents leaving a personal item, a personal object of his in this structure. So we identify 3 elements to make successful this intervention. One is the spatial. So it's actually how the structure acted as a platform for participation. One is the personal, so it's one-to-one engagement with the people, and one is the social. So on the personal level, we have distributed 200 ceramic pots of plants to the neighborhood. Actually, we bought 200 pots of plants. We distributed 100 to the neighbors and asked them as a request to bring back these pots of plants to the square with an aromatic plant or a herb or an edible plant planted in it on the specific day to complete the installation. So on the installation day, on the launch day of the structure, the neighbors came with their pot of plant, whatever each one choose to plant, and inserted on the structure. And then they start to leave their messages, so what this plant means to them. So in a way, each pot of plant acquire a very important position, like an exhibition item in this structure. And then we also organize collective planting activities where we planted the remaining of the plots together with the people that came. So in total, we had more than 150 people from the neighborhood that contributed to this activity, from all ages, from very young children of 5 years old to old people of 90 years old participating in the activity. And we can say that this installation acted like as a performance of the community and justify this saying by Dalja Blokland that the community is a practice of urban settings. So this structure further acted as a platform for other activities to come and plug in. For example, we have a lot of theatrical performances, dinner performances that took place within the Pameka Makli Festival, also poetry readings. So this structure was like spatial catalyst for different activities to take place. And it also was very important in creating important connections between the neighbors. And was a place of appropriation. So different neighbors were using the space in different ways. Probably the most important outcome of this installation was that a sense of ownership was created among the citizens. So the installation stayed beyond its imagined time of residency. So it stayed 1 year more than we expected it to stay on the square. And then other groups start to use this structure to run their own events, like cinema screenings or organize meetings among activist groups. And we can see here how it was used as a sitting arena for the other activities. And back to the sense of ownership, what was important in the end was that residents start to take turns in watering these plants, and also they were the ones who were advocating for it to stay in the square when the church wanted to remove it. And finally, the structure served also as a literal playground for the children of the neighborhood, who use it as a climbing arena.
Okay, sorry. So as a summary, our way to see a playful experience design is to put together 3 dimensions: the spatial dimensions, the individual dimension, and the social dimension. And when you manage to put all that together in a successful way, we can design something that will engage the people in a playful way. You can read more about our methodological view in a paper we have been published in 2 months ago in 2021 in the Journal of Urban Design. If you want to know more about what we are doing, we published in 2018 a book called Green Urban Lab that was published by the University of Nicosia. And we have a Facebook, Instagram webpage if you want to know more about our project. And I think like the time is running out. So thank you very much for listening to our presentation.
Rene and Veronika, thank you very much. I'm sure that all this presentation initiated many questions, but unfortunately we are out of time. So I'll just want to thank you all, both presenters and audience. It was, I think, a very interesting session, and now we will have to move to the next one. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
For real.